And this week's topic for Ramble Rouser is I don't know. Always having trouble with this part. There you go. J.K. Rowling. Uh, this is a topic I really haven't talked about on the channel at all, like even in another video. I might have mentioned it very briefly. Um, but let's just start from the beginning. So I I have had an interesting beginning with Harry Potter. I was suggested to read the books by my grandmother. She was getting into the books, and she told me I might like them and wanted me to get into them. I wasn't interested. I had no interest in checking them out, and really didn't have, I guess you could call it, a reason to want to get into them. But I eventually gave in, checked them out, and yeah, fell in love with them pretty much instantly. um, I have read all the books multiple times. Probably Goblet of Fire and Deathly Hollows the most. I have seen all of the movies. I own all of the movies on DVD. I own the first of the Fantastic Beasts movies. Um, I've read multiple different like supplementary material books. I've gotten plenty of merchandise over the years. Um, just all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff throughout the years that I've done involving Harry Potter and the world that Rowling created. Well, in the past few years, it's been made more and more apparent thanks to social media, especially Twitter, um, that J.K. Rowling is not the best person. On top of just a slew of stuff that could be seen as anti Semitic and racist, she's most notably known lately for having become extremely transphobic. And now I say become, but she might have and possibly always was like that. But you know what I mean. For coming out as that. And she likes to deny it. She likes to try and like use like the typical turf ideology that she's defending women and women's rights and all that bullshit. But yeah, it's not a valid uh, like explanation for anything she's saying. And she's been like disproven on pretty much everything and she said many times. And I'm not going to get into all of the bullshit about everything she said and whatnot. Um, I'm just going to give my honest opinions on how I personally have been affected by this all and how this will affect things going forward for me with the Harry Potter universe. Now, when when I got into the Harry Potter books, it's like it was never it was never one of those situations where I wanted to meet the creator, where I wanted to like, oh, it's like I would love to meet J.K. Rowling at some point. It was never like that for me. I know a lot of people though did have that kind of thought to them. But for me, it's like, oh, I just enjoy these books, and eventually the movies and whatnot as well. Even the video games, to a degree. um, but I never thought like, oh, I wanted to meet her, like I have with like cartoon voice actors and creators and stuff like that. Like it's never been kind of the same feeling for me. Um, so it was never so Rowling herself was never like a high point of interest for me as a reader of Harry Potter, as a fan, a Potterhead, as a lot of people like to call it. um, but I did have respect for her initially, because it's like creating this massive a world with this massive amount of lore and character to it can't be easy. And it was only like in the most recent years that I started seeing things that I never saw before. Because at first, it's like I thought Harry Potter was almost perfect. I mean, there were a couple issues I had with it, but nothing major. But then in the recent years, it's like I started noticing things and people pointing out things that it's like, oh yeah, I guess that is true. And it kind of got to a point where it's like I still love the series, don't get me wrong, but it got to a point where it's like I started like, you could say, filling in the cracks. I started understanding where a lot more of these complaints and stuff were coming from. And it just allowed me to open myself up to listening to them. Because there was a while where I defended Rowling against a lot of it. And hell, I even used the standard defense of separate the art from the artist. Basically, the idea that you can enjoy a product or something without having to worry about who's behind it. That their personal beliefs and stuff don't affect the product. And that's not always true. Um, Especially when your purchasing of the product goes to fund uh, their beliefs and stuff. Um, See Chick-fil-A as a great example of that. Um, but I began opening up more and more to just the idea that things were not perfect with this and things were actually kind of messed up in a lot of ways. And so I started seeing more and more of her tweets shared through social media and stuff. And it's like, I couldn't defend it anymore. There was no defense for it, especially after I had come out as trans and everything. Because it's, in a way, it feels like she's attacking me personally. Because it affects me, especially specifically as a trans woman, which is what most of her things are about. And it's like, I've tried to see it from her perspective, but I can't, because most of her most of her uh, women's rights defenses hinge on extremely transphobic ideologies. Ideologies that, like, for example, use a lot of what I would refer to as uterine rights uh, specifications and pushing them only for women, despite the fact that there are men and non binary people who go through those kind of same things as well, due to being uterine, having a uterus. Um, so, yeah, it's just like I couldn't even begin to defend it anymore. And now there's the big question going around, like, should we continue to support her by purchasing the books, the movies, going to see the new Fantastic Beasts movies when they hit theaters, stuff like that? And my stance is no. You can still be a fan of all of that stuff, but do not purchase things directly from her, or things that directly, like, where the money directly goes to her. You know, if you're gonna buy secondhand, buy the books, the movies, etc. secondhand. Buy them from like eBay or something. Don't buy them from official sources. Same goes with any kind of product. If you still love Harry Potter, and my camera just died. Fuck. Hold on. If you still love Harry Potter, and you want to buy like merch and stuff, buy merchandise from creators and stuff. Like, on Etsy and whatnot by people who they are the sole ones who get profits from it, not Rowling. Stuff like that. Support like fan fan art, fan music, all of that jazz. Don't do anything to give her money. If you want to see the new Fantastic Beast movie still, like I personally do not go see them in theaters. Do not give your money to the theaters to help support her. Um, and don't buy the DVD when it comes out either, unless again you buy it secondhand or something. Um, if you're going to see it some other way. That's my view on it. Now you can make your own decisions. I'm not obviously gonna force you to do so. But yeah, just at this point, doing all of this to support her is supporting the causes she donates to, the extremely transphobic remarks she makes, and it's not okay at this point. And some people are kind of pushing their love for Harry Potter away. Some people feel that because of this, they have to get rid of all of their books, their merchandise, just no longer identify with that part of things. And that's their right, and I can understand why. I personally, ironically enough, owe Harry Potter as part of the reason that I was able to find the courage to come out as trans. Ironically enough, I find it as one of the reasons that I even identified that in the first place in myself, thanks to characters like Luna Lovegood. So, ironically enough, this transphobic bigot is part of why I know myself to be trans today. It's kind of ironic, beautifully so. Um, but yeah, yeah. Just don't do anything to give her money anymore. Some people are distancing themselves completely from Harry Potter and anything regarding the Wizarding World franchise. I will not be because I do love it at this point. And at this point, the stuff like we already have purchased, it's like at that point, it's like it's already done, it's already over. It's not going to make a difference at this point. Let's be honest. Um, so it's like it I still love this content, and it's like at this point, even though I hate her, I'm going to continue loving Harry Potter in spite of her, despite how terrible Rowling is. And again, part of the reason is because it allowed me to realize that I'm a girl and come out as such and be confident enough to come out as such. So yeah, I kind of am continuing on as a fan in a way as a big middle finger to her. um, but I understand not everybody can do that. I understand not everybody can reconcile that idea with themselves. And that's perfectly fine, perfectly understandable. I do not by any means um, say that they are wrong. They are perfectly right to see it as they do. Um, it's really a person by person basis at this point, but the point stands, just don't give her money, no matter what. Um, Whether you decide to remain a fan or not of her work, whether or not you decide to keep the merch and stuff you already have, that's up to you. But just that's different from giving her money. Um, yeah, it's just, and again, like I said before, there's stuff in the Harry Potter works that have major issues with how they're portrayed and everything, how characters are portrayed, how the story's portrayed, certain really terrible tropes used, which a lot of people can definitely explain and go into much better than I can. Um, so you just look that up and you'll find a whole slew of information regarding all that. Um, but yeah, it's like I understand that it's not perfect and has a lot of messed up stuff in it. But again, it kind of shaped me in a lot of ways and helped me become who I am now. So it's like it does have a very important place in my past, in my heart. So, yeah. So for me, it's like I'll continue to be a fan. I just won't directly support Rowling with any kind of official purchases anymore. Um, so yeah. Tell me though your thoughts on J.K. Rowling and the entire uh, situation with her transphobic bullshit down in the comments below. And thank you so much for tuning in to another Ramble Rouser. So for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.